Hello again. It's me, Toothless Archer. It's been 2 weeks since Total Archery Challenge 7 Springs. Just want to have a quick chat, kind of give my rundown of what I learned, what I could do better, that kind of things. Yeah, so we'll just go ahead and get started on it. The first thing I learned, or relearned as the case may be, is I really do need to get more time at the range. It's not that I did necessarily terribly for the most part. I know I can be better, especially if I could practice a bit more, get better at holding back 70 pounds of draw weight. I was literally all over the place with the target, could not seem to settle down. I wouldn't necessarily call it target panic, but it's more probably just excitement, anxiety, being rushed. You're usually with a group of people, so you don't want to take too long. Yeah, so that would probably be item number 1. Item number 2, arrows. So a couple things there. I'm just going to roll a clip I recorded. This was on the second day after I had to come off of the course. This was the knock-on course. No, sorry, this is the Jack Links course. I had to come off of the course after just 8 targets. Roll the clip. 1 o'clock on Saturday at Seven Springs. Not a good day. I started at noon doing the Jack Links court. It's very slippery. I slipped at least once. That's not why I'm done though already. Simply my arrows are losing fletches in flight. I've already lost basically all my arrows after 8 targets. I still have 3, but the fletches are missing or almost missing on them, and so I'm calling it a day here. Tomorrow I shoot RMEF at 9 a.m. before I drive home. So yeah, I'll have to use my arrows from last year and hope they hold up. I did not have a good day with my arrows. I want to say though, that is no fault of the arrows themselves. That largely comes down to probably my own fault here. This is my 3rd Total Archery Challenge I've been to. The first year I went to Seven Springs. This was, well, basically a little over 2 years ago now. Went to Seven Springs for that particular first time. I brought 22 arrows. They were the Easton Axis 4mm long range. First one I did that, and that entire 3 days I was at Total Archery Challenge, I only lost 2 arrows. Last year I actually brought these right here. These are Victory's RIP Extreme Velocity arrows. These are 300 spine right here. They are basically fletched here. I'll get into that in a minute, what I use. They have a 60 grain steel insert, 100 grain tip, and I took 17 of these with me. And I think I only ended up losing 1, and the only one I lost was simply because it caught a branch halfway down to the target and disappeared, more or less. This year, I wanted to go as light as possible. Get a little bit more distance, a little bit more speed. I think everybody who attends TAC tends to run into that. So what did we do? This is still a RIP Extreme Velocity. In this case though, it's the original inserts. I think they're only 20 grains, 100 grain tip, and I also went with lighted nocks. These lighted nocks, if I remember right, are like 10 or 12 grains. Yeah, just went with those. So what happened? Basically, first day, I did pretty good. Out of the 25 targets on the knock-on course I did, I actually only completed 20. The last 5 I was not able to do for a reason I'll get into momentarily. But basically the idea here is I would shoot these arrows. I think I lost 2 the first day. I took 6 up the mountain with me. Second day, however, is when I ran into issues. Now, this was Jack Links. I had gone out to that target again. I brought 6 arrows with me for that day. And literally the very first target I shot at, uh, it was, I think it was like 60 or 70 yards. Midway down to the target, a fletch, one of my fletchings, literally ripped off in flight. And because of that, of course, the arrow just dived down, and you if the fletching comes off in flight, especially because you hear that buzzing as it comes loose, you get drag, you just lose the target. That arrow could go anywhere. Didn't think too much of it. Continued on. Second target, I think I managed to hit the target. Third target, I missed left, which I was missing left quite a bit. I'll get into that in a minute. And then basically just kept going from there. And then it happened again on the fourth target. The fletch ripped off. I think it was actually this one. This one's only got one fletch. The fifth target, I reused this arrow for the hell of it because I was kind of getting short of arrows that were intact. Next two targets, I hit rocks and stuff, blew up the arrows. I still have them over in my case, but they are not usable by any stretch of the imagination. With this one, this arrow actually, I believe it hit a branch halfway down and ripped off a fletch, and I was able to recover it, but it has no fletches left. So yeah, that was when I just gave up after 8 targets. Came that. So what was going on with these arrows and the fletchings? Again, I do not blame the arrows. I do not blame the fletchings. If anything, I blame myself for how I fletched them in a way. But basically, what I use is I use the Arizona Easy Fletch. This is the Mini Max L because I prefer the left helical on it. I've had this particular thing for I think 3 years now, and I do tend to fletch all my arrows with it. Kind of go from there. It gets a lot of buildup on it, especially the glue. Glue will get stuck in the down in the pivot points. But also it's the glue buildup along that edge. I try to clean it. Let's be fair, like many people, I'm not consistent with doing that. So there's a bit of glue buildup and residue where the fletchings go in. So I think this was part of the problem. Close it up, right? Take your piece here, slide it over the top, lock it in place, and there you go. Let it sit while the glue sets. That holds all 3 fletchings in place. That because of the buildup, the fletchings were not actually sitting fully on to the arrow shaft. They look like they did, but they probably weren't getting enough pressure to really have it grab, especially as the glue set up. So there's probably little spots of gap and everything like that where the wind of the flight could catch it and rip it right off. So that was probably problem number 1. Problem number 2, probably the glue. This is Pine Ridge Instant Archery Glue. I've had good luck with this for the couple years I've been using it. These arrows I used the Total San Antonio last year are glued using that. Not an issue at all. However, part of the problem might simply be that this glue is over 2 years old now. I feel that this combined with the not quite proper pressure is probably largely what led to having so many issues with fletchings. Now, because of that, out of the 11 arrows I took to tack that were the newer, much lighter style, I brought home 4 usable ones. And of those usable ones, only 1 was completely unshot or used as far as I understand it. So I have 1 intact arrow out of 11. The third thing I learned or was a takeaway from Total Archery Challenge this year is simply being more in fit. Now, I originally come from the Seattle area. I used to go hunting for elk and deer in the mountains just outside of Seattle. I used to be in really good shape. I did construction, always up and around, very solid shape. That was 16 years ago. I moved to Canada. I moved to Niagara Falls specifically. It is, for the most part, very flat here. And as part of it, due to throwing my back out and stuff, I got a desk job. I went from being super active, construction, lifting, all that kind of stuff, to doing absolutely nothing. But one thing that I have blah, 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 blah. One thing I'm having a hard time recovering is actually my cardiovascular health, specifically VO2 max. For those who don't know, VO2 max is just a measurement of how well your body could use the oxygen you're breathing in. Now I have an Apple Watch Ultra. I don't know how accurate it is as far as the measurements it does, but it says my VO2 max sits at around 28, which is sitting at about 6 or 7 below where it should be for my age. What ends up, how that this demonstrates is a couple things. Number one, if it's flat ground or even relatively flat, normal up and down a little bit, nothing too crazy, I could probably walk for miles without any real issues. Yes, I'll get tired out. I'll be a little bit short of breath depending, off and on, but I could complete it without issue. Now, this is Total Archery Challenge. These take place on ski resorts for the most part. You got mountains, you got hills, you're going up, you got rocks, you're climbing, all this kind of stuff. And this is where I feel it, and this is something I've noticed for 3 years running that I just can't seem to get better at. Climb up if I have to go uphill a decent amount, let's say I'm going up maybe 15 feet over 50 feet or so. If I do it at any sort of speed, I will be out of breath completely. My heart rate will jump up to like the 160s, 170s to do it. And it gets to a point where I feel like I actually need to sit down, catch my breath. And once it happens it's going to continue to happen and keep getting worse, and I just get straight up fatigued badly. This is what happened on the first day with the knock-on course. I did really well up until probably about target 18-ish, and then there's a long, probably, I'm going to say almost quarter mile, maybe half a mile even, of hiking that is all uphill. It's not terrible. It's a relatively gradual climb, but you're still probably gaining 150 feet, 200 feet or more over that distance. And it literally kicked my ass. I'm looking for any suggestions, any comments. Again, I got 5 subscribers right now. It's not like I'm going to get many, but you never know. Somebody might comment on things I can do to improve my VO2 max. So now my final takeaway here is kind of an overall general thing, but it also has some specifics. I try to do most of my own tuning at this point. I can change my own strings. I did buy myself some System X strings while I was in Seven Springs. I'll be putting them on my bow probably in a month or two, depending on when I get some time. But one of the big things I've come across here is probably third axis. I tend to be a little bit left whenever I shoot. I've noticed when I hold the bow and release, it seems to want to I almost push to the left. That seems to be something that started this year, so it might be just something where I have to work on my grip a bit more. Uphill, I was always tended to be even more left. I could be 6 to 10 inches left by a large margin when doing it, which also probably means my third axis is off, and I do not at the moment have a good way of checking my third axis. So I could check, because I'm actually partially convinced, my bow's not tuned. Let's put it this way. It's not tuned quite correctly. It works well enough for most of what I'm doing, but if I want to get better, I need to be able to tune it better. And that is in all aspects, from the weights on the stabilizers, to grip, to bias, to I have a Matthews Phase 4, so top hats, if I need to adjust the cams, I'm pretty sure the cams are slightly out of line, so that doesn't help. But I need to get better at being able to tune my own stuff and just do it more. That's my takeaways from doing the Total Archery Challenge this year in Seven Springs, my third one going to. Despite all the headaches, despite the mud and everything else, it's something I absolutely enjoy doing. I look forward to it every year. when I do it, and I will continue to do so. I just need to work on a couple things to get myself in better shape, and as well get my equipment back up to where it could be and should be. Get outside, enjoy the weather. Spring finally showed up in southern Ontario. It's been kind of miserable for the most part up until probably the last 2 weeks. A lot of rain, a lot of cold, but we're here. The sun's warmer. We're getting there. In the meantime, everybody have fun. Stay safe, especially if you're going to Total Archery Challenge. And I will see you in the next video.